Hello, I'd like to continue to talk about more about Tongdosa temples. Um, let's move to shadow of nature. Behind the red color of the plum, faint shadows roam the ground. After putting a lot of lights on the tip of the brushes, we draw pictures on dark drawing paper. Let's imagine, we do the paintings, dark paintings. Make a shadow with black paint on a white paper with light. The shadow looks like, it's very black and white paintings. In the part received the sunlight, the original grain of wood is clearly visible or invisible. Light can also create a color changes because of the difference in the contrast. The light shining on the trees, the shadow on the stones, you see in the middle of pictures. The light shining on the trees over the tombstones, place of the entrance driveway. You see these, tombstones in the entrance of driveway. So this creates the shadow of the trees and makes the temple as wonderful as possible. Look at this, harmony of old doors and shadows. Mirrors and shadows talk to each other. Can you feel, the shadow talks to the door and door talks to shadows, they talk each other. Such like this, in the shadow of the lotus lantern, the wall of the temple becomes a flower. The shadow lives in such of the light blooming on the old trees. Seems that, even a small tree has formed the light and the shadow to decorate wonderful gardens. This part of it becomes a gardens. Like this, we hope, the shadows are recognized by people as a symbol of the optimism, hidden energy, and diversity. These intangible beauties are difficult to capture. Sometimes it can best to be conveyed through the sensibility of looking at the nature. We sometimes try to create or feel in a new reality. It is necessary to adjust the graphic of the beauty according to our emotional lens. Emotions, what is emotions? Emotion created by my own design. One of the famous book, Brand Jam, by Mark Gobe, written in 2007. The emotional design is an innovative concept, constantly requires new, creative, and refreshing vocabulary in order to create a sense languages always change life and communicates with the desires of those experience it in a positive way, positive ways. You must always use evolving aesthetics and styles. Let's take a break next to the inner wall. Wall looks like a fence, right? The shade under the fence. The shade under the fence. Left alone again, The monk goes into the red door. You can hardly see, but this is, brown, red doors. The monk just passed red doors. On the other side of the courtyard, you can see the green ivy around the door. And a signboard is written as 능견 난사문. 능견 난사문. This is, Chinese letter. This means a door that is difficult to think about even though it can be seen. It's hard to tell, if it's a door where you can dare to see things are difficult to think of. But if you think under the premise, it is a door to the place where the old ancestors lived. Well, actually, there is nothing important, nothing very important talk about this. Perhaps, because both the thinking and seeing are important, You will have to set a new framework apart from what has been tamed so far. So you need to find a new frame to see the things. There's, very beautiful moment, the surface of the water ponds, Let's move to white plum blossom reflected in the pond. The white plum blossoms reflected in the pond, no longer whites, but they remain in their shapes, Can you imagine, They have the shades but no colors on the water surface, transparent. Although it is not a water stream from the Tongdosa Temple mountain ranges, but the water is soft. The sounds of the water are very clear, and the shadow reflected on the water is mysterious even. The sound of shallows in various places beneath the eaves of the embankment. So scrupulous, the cubs rushing to feed with open mouths, preparing to fly. In Tongdosa Temple, there are many small temples around. We call this branches of temple. There are tiny, mysterious, and beautiful things around there. So let's talk about one. From the Seoeunam. If you go there, Seoeunam Temple, flowers, jars, and Peacock is very famous there. On the way up to Seoeunam, down in the morning, one of the types of apple blossoms is looking at the sky and tiles. Very cute, right? Behind the jar, see two pots, three pots actually, right? Two pictures. Next to the, queen's trees, there are some bleeding flowers. Look like silk pockets. Between the jars, pavilion flowers greet each other when spraying with a different gaze. Let's talk about the design for a moment. If you talk about curves, right? There are many different kinds of curves, but there are three important curves: directional curves, accented curve, catenary curve. If you very carefully look at these curves of jars, the curves of jar appearance a directional curve, 방향곡선, with a constant, very strong directional force, and try to create tensions between them. But independent accented curve or pesky flower. The small flowers right next to the jar, right? That's pesky flowers. This is independent accented curve or pesky flower, which is the opposite directions. Goes different directional way of the jar, right? This relieves the tension between jars and flowers. So these tensions between them stimulate curiosity. The catenary of a curve, this curve, which is palisade peaks, the top of the bud shape of the flowers, is a curve caused by gravity. Something pulling out from the ground, giving a general sense of weight and creating a small and simple atmosphere. There are many white flowers above jars, right? Jangdokdae. The name 불두화, we call this 불두화, is given because the shape of the flower in the full bloom is similar to the shape of a Buddha's head, and it creates another landscape with full of jar. Convexity expresses the feeling of the active form. Unlike the passive feeling of the convexity, the convex shape has a sense of mass and volume. Unlike the dramatic effect, the buzz of the Biroam and the silhouettes of the jars, which are organic forms. These show a subtle change in emotions. What kind of feeling will the scenery of the Blixnow on the Biroam and the jars filters. The combination of artificial designs and nature creates wonderful new forms, makes our eyes doubtful. So what I'm talking about is, we always respect, natural things, but we also have to consider artificial design together. There seems to be a spirit. Spirit gives us purity or comfort without fruit. Even if the flowers are all luscious and do not bear fruit, we have to respect. In Seoeunam, Tongdosa Temple, you see the peacock, this picture in the left side. The monk sitting and watch out the peacock, right? The famous for its flowers, jars, and the great wall of the ceramics. The peacock protects hermitage lives, we guess, right? A loud cry. The peacock always, cry loud, can be heard out of nowhere, resonates in a courtyard. This is the sounds made by the four peacocks. We call them muwi. Muwi. They are peacocks turn their backs to strangers, but they always smile brightly at Seoeunam's wildflowers bleeding heart, pesky flower, western part. It is a place full of vitality for the general public. Visit the temple to the comfort and rejuvenated. It is a true marketplace where people meet. It is a place where nature and culture coexist. Let's move to another small temple, Biroam. Space in the picture. Beautiful flower. Very lonesome trees next to. It is one of the hermitages attached to Tongdosa Temple. When you enter the narrow path past the pine trees rising high in the sky, you can see a path looks like a painting, like a paint artwork, right? We are once again captivated by the scene of heavenly scenes, the bloom on the Biroam. This friend we call baobab trees. Looks very lonely, but they're still high up and looking down. He knows everything, that's why he's looking down. And this place under this tree is a pleasant place to stay and think about. So I suggest everyone, if you have time, you can sit under these baobab trees and looking down the hill. It's a beautiful moment to watch out. Let's move to another small temple in Tongdosa, Seoeunam. You see, there's a pond in front of the temples. The space of the morning light. If you go there, you watch out in the morning time. You see special light, reflects on the ponds. on a flowering spring day, flower blossoming in spring day, the tall magnolia flowers, beautiful and radiant flowers are in a full bloom, here, making more enjoyable to take a walk in the grounds of a quiet and peaceful spring day. So among Tongdosa Temple, hermitages, I am grateful there is such beautiful landscapes clear. Dancheong and beautiful hermitages, even in a pond in Samyeonam, beautiful images clearly drowned under the bright morning sunlight. Since there is a large pond, two pavilions are reflected, creating a view as if meeting a new hermitage. The scenery in autumn also beautiful, but it is different feeling in spring when full of flowers. So you must see 4 different seasons. The edge of the pond is surrounded by the flowers, the water lilies blooming on the ponds, and the clear sky is passing above it. On the way to Paradise Rock, there's rocks in the valley. You walk this small road right next to valley. You see the Paradise Rocks. The sun finally rises, and the mountain temple begins to turn red. The light of dawn shines brightly to the inside of the temple and begins to paint the beauty of the contrast. Crepe myrtle trees is shy in the red sunlight, turned very beautifully, and the light shining on the mountain temple creates a wonderful landscapes. Looks like a photograph, photos with the blue sky. Breathe in the fresh air. If you breathe in the fresh air, look at the magnificent view of Mountain Yeonchi Mountain, Yeonchi-san, and quietly greet the morning, hoping for a wonderful dream to come true. I hope you enjoy this Tongdosa Temple. If you get a chance, you must definitely visit this place. Thank you for watching out these lectures. Appreciate it. Bye.